guys, it's Bro You Whack, and 8 years ago, Overwatch came out in May of 2016, and man, where has the time gone? No, seriously. Where? But in that time, Overwatch has changed so much, whether it's hero reworks, map changes, or the actual cues and functionality of the game. But you see, a lot of people remember those changes. I mean, we literally have daily arguments about 6v6 versus 5v5. Now, today, what I wanted to do was to look at 5 things that only OG Overwatch players remember. That's right, we're gonna go back in time to the 2016 and even 2015 era of Overwatch, what a lot of people deem is the golden era. But in addition to these 5 changes, at the very end of the video, I'm also going to share with you one change that I think is probably one of the funniest things in all of Overwatch. But without further ado, let's finally look at 5 things that only OG Overwatch players remember. Number 1, Reaper's health orbs. Here's a little fun fact about Reaper that I didn't know. It took him exactly a whole entire year for him to get his very first change, and then just a couple of weeks later, he got a whole entire rework done to his passive ability. You see, Reaper's current passive ability is called the Reaping, and it's pretty simple. You do damage as Reaper, and based on how much damage you do, a percentage of that is gonna go to self-healing. And it's been like that ever since June of 2017. But before this change, he had a different passive ability, and how it worked was whenever you got a kill as Reaper, that enemy would drop a healing orb, or a soul, whatever you want to call that little red ball, that was for you as Reaper to self-heal yourself, and you would get a measly 50 health from that orb. And you see, this passive ability was very useful when you got kills on squishy heroes, especially if you got tons of kills with your ultimate because they all dropped orbs for you to self-heal. But you see, his playstyle wasn't necessarily target squishy heroes, but rather tanks, because he was known as a tank buster. And if you're spending all that time shooting into a tank and those tanks aren't dropping orbs, that means you're not going to get healed, even if it was only a measly 50 HP. And eventually they realized this dilemma and they reworked his passive ability where it self-heals you based on the damage that you do at originally 20%, and then they got smart and upped it to eventually the 35% that we know of as today. Number 2, Mercy's original voice actor. I'm pretty sure everyone's familiar with the current voice actor for Mercy, Lucy Pohl. She's a German native that has been voicing the Swiss character Mercy ever since the end of the Overwatch 1 beta. And ever since then, Mercy has definitely cemented herself as one of the most popular characters in all of Overwatch. And one of the reasons for that is due to Lucy's fantastic voice acting. But not a lot of people remember that Lucy wasn't the original voice of Mercy. She actually had a completely different voice actor at the beginning of the beta. Just take a listen to these comparison of voice lines.
I'll send you my consultation fee.
I'll send you my consultation fee.
On a scale of 1 to 10, how is your pain?
On a scale of 1 to 10, how is your pain?
The doctor will see you now.
The doctor will see you now.
I'm not a miracle worker. Well, not always.
I'm not a miracle worker. Well, not always.
The doctor is in.
The doctor is in.
You can really see the comparison with the Doctor is in voice line, where the original voice actor has much more harsher German accent and a little bit more deeper, saying the Doctor is in, whereas Lucy has a much more softer tone and pronouncing it less in a German accent, saying the Doctor is in. And I think with Mercy specifically, while she can have an accent most definitely, when it comes to the tone, I think this was very important to perfect, because the character Mercy is a lot more nurturing and softer and kind of like a mother, someone that is here to, well, babysit you guys. So changing the voice actor to have a more nurturing tone, I think was the right call. But something funny that I just love about Overwatch voice actors is I feel like the voice actors also just represent the character outside of the voice. And Lucy, she is not only the perfect voice for Mercy, but is also just the perfect embodiment of Mercy. Number 3, D.va dying from her own bomb. D.va's mech is one of the most important part of her hero kit. Actually, it probably is the most important part of the hero kit, because it's quite literally the hero like 80% of the time. Now, most people remember not being able to squish people with D.va's ultimate, but do you remember when you used to ult as D.va and you can actually die from your own bomb? Yeah, very early on in Overwatch's life, if you stood too close to the ultimate exploding, you would just die as D.va. And you know, that kind of makes sense because, well, if you die from your own bomb as Tracer, why wouldn't you die to a much bigger explosion as D.va? But in July of 2016, not only would they shorten the time of detonation for the D.va bomb, but they would also make it so that you wouldn't die from your own bomb as D.va. While logically that doesn't make sense, gameplay-wise, that was a smart decision. Number 4, Watchpoint Gibraltar's 4th checkpoint. Overwatch has seen numerous game modes in its 8-year lifespan, and one has even seen its way out of Overwatch completely, and nobody will miss you, 2CP. But a staple mode in Overwatch is what's known as Escort, where, just like the name implies, you escort a payload throughout a map in Overwatch, and you have these things called checkpoints where a payload will not go backwards any farther past that checkpoint. And these escort maps always have 3 checkpoints, no more, no less. That is with an exception with the original Watchpoint Gibraltar map. We all know Watchpoint Gibraltar currently has 3 checkpoints, one right before the gate, one after you reach the hangar, and the third is when you reach the rocket. But there was a 4th one at the beginning of the map, right underneath the bridge when the payload dips underneath it. And this is very interesting, not only because this was quickly changed very early in Overwatch's life, but this is the only case in an escort map where it's had a 4th checkpoint. Number 5, Roadhog had to stay still to heal. Roadhog is infamous for his hook 1.0, 2.0, 3.0. His hook has had many changes, and most people remember him being able to hook through walls. And I think most people would even remember the days before having a resource meter for his take a breather ability, where it just flat out healed you for 300 each time. But a lot of people might not remember in the old days of Overwatch when you used take a breather, it would force you as Roadhog to stay still. And that just seems like a preposterous thought nowadays. What, you're gonna intentionally feed to self-heal as Roadhog? Like, well, how did we live like that? And I don't know how, because we lived like that for like a year and a half. This take a breather change wouldn't come until August of 2017. How Roadhog managed to stay meta during that time is beyond me. Wait, actually, no, I do know how he managed to stay meta. But it's just wild to think that a big giant piggy tank would be able to stand out in the open, self-healing, give the enemy team ultimate charge, and the ability to shoot you down. Because that's exactly what happened a lot of the time if you weren't hooked right away. But those are 5 things that only OG Overwatch players remember. But I did promise you one additional thing that seems like an urban legend at this point. But do you remember back in the early days of Overwatch that when you used to ult as Widowmaker, her butt would grow? Yeah, no, this sounds like I'm making it up, and like I said, this is an urban legend because there's not a lot of gameplay showing off this glitch, but what would happen is you would use your visor as Widow, and your butt would just grow. Not by a lot, just get a little bit wider, but enough to make this just kind of like a funny meme, because Widowmaker already had the cakes, already had the yams as it was, but to use your ult and for it to grow was just a funny glitch that I don't know if the developers forgot to code out, or maybe this was an intentional glitch that the coders intentionally put into the game. To whoever developed Widowmaker, I'm on to your secrets. But if you want to know even more things that only OG Overwatch players remember, be sure to leave a comment down below, because there are so many things from the 2016 era that I didn't even talk about. But until then, I love you guys. Thank you guys for watching more Overwatch 2 videos to come, and bye.